Whoa. I see we made it. Well, I made it. Did you make it? Hey, 1 o'clock came around. I hit the button and it defaulted to another system that I didn't even have on this computer. So I had to stop it and come back. That clears the chat room. I had started the chat room already for you, just to see if you were ready yet. Just in case you popped in early. I don't know if you can get in early, but when I've got a show coming up, usually there's a few minutes of limbo where I get to sit there and wonder if anybody's going to be ready to pop in and be a part of this week's edition of The Edge with the Cliff. This is a little different type of blog than what you'd be accustomed to, perhaps. So we go to the edge of a lot of areas where some folk would just rather not go to some of the areas where we go on the edge with the cliff. We've learned how to set aside all the fear that's been instilled on us over many generations. It's a fear that's beyond being born with, but there is a fear that is instilled on us and we're trained to play into. And some folks just can't get out of it. They can't imagine themselves not being scared of burning in hell forever and ever and ever. Could you imagine yourself not being the least bit concerned about eternal punishment? Well, just in case you were wondering, that's part of why we're here. That's why we'll do this show every week. Not quite sure when we'll do it. Now, today, again, we're on a Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. The Edge with the Cliff on YouTube. We post on Facebook when we're about to go up. But if you subscribe to this YouTube channel, you might get a notification when we're about to go up. And the shows that we're going to plan for you in the future, that we're going to have a wide variety of different types of blogs here. But as for this show, The Edge with the Cliff, we're going to keep it right along the lines that we've always wanted to, when we were just merely seeking answers to questions we had that nobody could answer. Could you imagine growing up looking for certain answers to certain questions that nobody dared even think about, and they showed no concern why I should be concerned, but I was? But what are the excuses? There's some things we're never meant to fully understand. We just have to accept that. No, we don't. I think we can seek and we can find. We can keep seeking. We can keep finding. The more we seek, the more we find, and all the others are left behind. Boy, I can sure wax poetic sometimes. Hey, if you're joining this little live webcast, there is a chat room right. Where is it? Right over there. Am I pointing in the right direction? Yeah, because remember, cameras are not mirrors, and when you're working into a camera, your right is left and your left is right. But I'll explain that later in some other show, because there's a reason for that kind of madness, and I think you'll be very interested to find out more about that in other programs. But right now, you're on the edge with the cliff. Welcome aboard. Here we are again. And I was trying to ponder some of the topics that I thought you might be interested in joining in about. Like, okay, how about, since we're all divine, sovereign, and free, I will speak divinely, sovereignly, and freely to you, that there are a lot of name callers out there, and we're going to take one of those names right now, and we're going to put it up here on the billboard for you. And I want you to participate in the chat room if you would. Or if you're watching the archive of this show on YouTube, you can comment below. Always subscribe to this channel, though. It's the Clif Desmond channel. It's the Edge with the Cliff That's the number one primary channel of Clif Desmond right now. There are some more coming, and you can look around in there and find a couple more. And when you see, you'll understand a whole lot more about what I understand about illusions and distractions, because I'm also a puppeteer. You'll notice that puppeteers have to be masters at illusion and distraction. You know how they say things are done with smoke and mirrors? Illusions, creating illusions. There's a lot of that going on out there. There's a lot of it that was created on purpose in your mind in order to control you. And I know you don't want to think that anybody's controlling you, and who wants to think that anybody's got full control of you? They've got your full support. They're not worried about you backing out on them because, nah, too much fear. Too much fear of an imaginary place where you're toasted and roasted like a barbecue pig forever and ever and ever and ever at the galaxy's longest barbecue in the history of anything. The greatest barbecue toast making event ever. The worst one ever, too. Forever and ever and ever. Without hesitation, without a single drop of water. Boy, they can embellish it so much. I know some of you are starting to tear up already, and I don't mean to do that to you. That's that guilt, fear, and control matrix I'm warning you about that does that. When you start listening to me and all of a sudden I say something that's way out of where your mindset is, you might be totally appalled. You might go, take a deep breath. Just breathe. Breathing is recommended by 9 out of 10 serious physicians who are serious about what they present to the public. And I guarantee you, breathing is highly recommended among most physicians. Do not hesitate to breathe. It's not good for you. Okay. And you don't have to emotionally react to something that you're not familiar with so flamboyantly, unless you're one of these drama people. Everybody knows a drama queen. Does anybody know a drama queen? And I think you know what I mean when I mention, does anybody know a drama queen? Well, one of those names that people call people and drama queens to have something in common. Because the word we're going to explore today on The Edge with the Cliff is the title that many women are given and have been for quite some time in our American history. But the title of witches. Do you know any witches? Do you know any witches? Do you know somebody who everybody thinks might be a witch? How do you know if somebody is really a witch? Have you ever been accused of being a witch? For what reason were they accusing you of being a witch? In order to activate your guilt, fear, and control matrix? Like chains, aren't they? The gripping guilt, fear, and control matrix has its watchdogs and its flying monkeys and its little buzzwords that are created and used to manipulate. So these are manipulative words that are they're gonna make you feel stupid and make you do something by using special words designed to make you do exactly what they want you to do. And they know how to use them too. And then, of course, don't forget when they can't answer the question, then it's out of their hands because some things are never meant to be fully understood. Oh, really? Really? I'd like to find a book on just that alone. All the stuff that was never written because nobody knows about it. Well, that's sort of like no, I'm not going to go there right now because we have children attending the show from time to time, I found out. Did you know that children are very open to the message to beware of the guilt, fear, and control matrix? You see, they've not yet been indoctrinated. They don't need unindoctrination yet because they're still unindoctrinated. And they're starting to think and wonder things all by themselves. And they're starting to discover things all by themselves in natural ways that we don't understand. Because all these kids that are being born right now are some of the most amazing, amazing souls that have ever existed on the planet. I don't know what it is about them, but there's something about them. There's something magical about. I'm talking about even the little children, the little 2 and 3 year olds, even the newborn babies. Maybe because more states are standing up all of a sudden to say let's not kill unborn babies anymore. I'm not quite sure if it's that, and I'm not quite sure what all that's about because I think it's all part of the same matrix. It's interwoven. Like they say, separation of church and state, the biggest oxymoron ever created. The thought of separation of church and state, they are exactly the same thing. Fear, guilt, and control. It's a matrix, and it's gotcha. Now, my job is to help you free your mind. I have to free you from your own mind because right now your mind is your prison. You're incarcerated within the confines of everything that you've been instructed and taught. It's not a spiritual thing, it's an academically acquired thing. What the heck you think all that memorization, all that repetition, all those things that you automatically stand up and say or sit down and say or sing along or read along over and 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 over. And suddenly, of course, it becomes you. You become the message. Quite a bit of a measurable pride that is illustrated, or should I say, expressed. That pride that I have memorized all this so well. And it goes on and on and on and on. Anytime you need to think of anything, boom, it's right there because that was academically acquired. That's not a spirit of God or anything whispering into your ear telling you what to say. That's from the results of your memorization. But you know what? People who buy into the guilt, fear, and control matrix, they'll buy it. They'll buy it in a heartbeat. In fact, hang on to it. You might need it because, that offering's been getting awfully late lately, hasn't it? And I say, don't quit your day job, pastors. Don't quit your day jobs because the game is over. The apocalypse is simply a great revelation, revealing to you something that has been hidden. And as you find out all this stuff that's been hidden from your view as it makes itself plain before your very noses, well, you'll understand why they call it the apocalypse. But basically, apocalypse means the revealing of something that was hidden. And what is it that's been hidden all along? You know where I'm going now. We call it the scriptures. And even in a deeper sense of the word scriptures, let's call it text. Text in its original language. Let's say, Hebrew for the Old Testament and Greek for the New Testament. There's some other languages in there too, but let's focus on, first and foremost, the Old Testament, the Greek, the Hebrew. You don't have to be a Hebrew scholar. I know a rabbi, but I'm not one. And I did consult the rabbi on a thing or two. And I was quite surprised that the rabbi understood what I understood about a few things. But the translation, what you have today in your Bible, I know it's really, really, really a bad word. It's not good. Because what you got is so watered down and so embellished and plagiarized, and then embellishment upon embellishment, and plagiarization upon plagiarization and embellishment. We have a whole new math going here. They've got everything else in this world to make sure it's all safe for children and family friendly and rainbow friendly and everything else. But they have not yet dared to vet what they call the Holy Scriptures, the biggest mistake in the history of man. Because basically, you remember the Roman road to salvation, friends. There is a Roman road because it's a Roman religion. Yeah. All Christianity comes from one Roman religion, one world order. They were still calling it the New World Order then, too. It is now. That's what the New World Order is. And you might be stuck in it already, but that's okay. They don't take your brownie points away if you memorized all your scriptures right, because you'll need them. Because they're going to question you. They're going to make sure that you're with them. They're going to make sure that you're not with me. That's quite all right with me, too, by the way. Because I can't do anything for you. What I'm doing for me. I'm not doing it for you. Although I do feel a little bit of an obligation towards letting you know that it has not all been dealt to you straight all the way through. And I don't think I really need to just go into all kinds of argument about it. Not necessary. Because like I said, I'm doing it for me. I know what I understand already. I know what I received throughout my life as what some would call revelation. Confirmation didn't come along till much, much later, after a lot of seeking and a lot of wondering, a lot of flipping out and a lot of freaking out over it all. And now it's commonplace to me. Now, some of you, just like me, want to know, what do we do now? What do we do now? You don't want to start another fear, guilt, and control matrix about something else now? No. If we're divine, sovereign, and free, we don't need no stinking church. We don't need no group organization or anything like that. You know why? We're divine, sovereign, and free. In being so, you're free to think. Have you ever really thought? I'm not talking about wondering about stuff or studying about stuff or memorizing something. I'm talking about, have you ever just let it all go and like fine tuning an old ham radio until you get the right frequency when stuff starts coming through? When you're about to fall asleep at night, when you're almost ready to just go under, in just a few seconds, you're going to be out like a light and you know it. Just a few more deep breathing exercises and you're out for the night. Well, right about that much before you fall asleep, you sort of go into a state where you can reach during meditation, very similar to the state that you go into when you go into a dream state. You start to just drift off into that place where it's quiet. All the noise, all the white noise around you, it's gone. All the chatter going on, you hear the chatter. You hear the chatter out loud, though. Most of the chatter that you hear is gossip. All the over here and all the did you know that really and then so and so it goes on and on and on. It feeds itself. It's like the Cookie Monster finding a bag of cookies and eating them all. It's going crazy. But that's what you hear with your physical ears, and you see it with your physical eyes too. But when you're in a dream state, you're not necessarily utilizing your eyes or your ears for seeing and hearing, because as you go into a dream state, your body's usually in a sleeping state. Because when you're dreaming late into the night or early into the morning, you're in a deep sleep when that occurs. And good meditation can bring you to that edge where you're just on the edge of not just dreaming, but do you know what lucid dreaming is? Look into lucid dreaming, because I'm not going to try to explain it all to you, but lucid dreaming is when you're suddenly aware that you're actually in a dream. When you're aware that you're actually in a dream and what's going on is not really going on, it's a dream, and you're there. What can you do? You can do anything you want. If you're in a dream and you realize that you're in a dream, an actual dream state, you can actually fly. You raise your eyebrow like the Clif does, go ahead. Raise your eyebrow. But have you ever flown? In a dream? Of course you have. I think every child dreams of flying. They see these birds way up there just stretched out, just floating on the winds, enjoying the ride. And I'll bet you've tried it, but now you want to try it, because you know that once you realize that you're in a dream, you can do anything you want. And I mean anything. You take the helm, you take the steering wheel at that point, and you steer that dream into the direction that you want it to go in. I wonder if it could be dangerous to do that. Where could you go in a dream state from which you wouldn't return? Well, you want to be sensible about anything you're going to try to do. I really don't think that dreaming is that dangerous. Unless you watched all those Freddy Krueger movies. Yeah, watching Freddy Krueger movies, those will just spook you altogether, you know. You'll be afraid to go to sleep. By the way, if you're just joining in and wondering what in the world is this, it's The Edge with the Clif. And you can hit the like button. You know, there's a thumbs up button down there somewhere. And there's a subscribe button, because we're going to be coming to you every week in some form with some pretty cool information. Because I've been saving a lot of stuff up. And when we thought about today's show, and I thought, what do the name callers call some of these women out there? What's the purpose of calling someone a witch? Are you a witch? Do we have any witches that actually can watch this show? Don't make me call your names. I won't do that. Unless you appear in the chat room and want to be a little celebrity for a little while, come on in. You are welcome to do that. Because on the Edge with the Clif, we're very, very, very inclusive. Especially with the witches, and I'll tell you why. The witches have gotten a bum rap. Because basically, what do you think of when you think of a witch? What's the first witch that comes to mind? We're off to see the wizard. Ah, the Wicked Witch of the West. Remember that? Was that a scary witch for you? If you're anywhere near my age, you remember that over the river and through the woods grandmother's house would go. The horse knew the way to carry the sleigh through the long and drifted snow. Oh, and we get there, and it's Thanksgiving time, right? And we've all eaten Thanksgiving dinner, and all of a sudden, all the kids are sitting in front of the television. And every year, right about that Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving dinner or so, the Wizard of Oz movie would come on. And what was the most terrifying character in that entire movie. Which character in the movie Wizard of Oz did you have the most nightmares about when you were a small child? What comes to mind when they say so and so is a wicked old witch? She is. Who comes to mind? Back in the 1600s, there was a movement to rid the evil of the earth. And in a little town that my buddy Dave lives in, it's called Salem, Massachusetts. In Salem, for somehow these I call them government religious enforcers. They came into the United States. Well, we weren't quite the United States back in the 1600s. No, it was 1776 before we ever became the United States. But early America, these high priests came into town, and they wanted to know if there were any witches they needed to be purged of, and they had these trials for these silly women that were funny looking, or maybe eccentric, or maybe kind of, I say funny looking. They might have had a wart on their nose or something. That's enough to be accused of being a witch back then. Apparently, they tried them all and they killed them all. Yeah. Some of them they drowned. Some of them they burned alive. Okay, that was because some of the women may have been witches, but I don't think most of them were. I think it was a way that some of these guys were disposing of their women at the time, and that's a future topic on this show. That woman of yours, that woman that you call yours, is she your woman, or is she really? Is she your woman? Is she your woman? That'll be one of the future questions on this show right here. Now, you sure about that? If you sure, I want you on the show that day when we talk about your woman. Here on the edge with the cliff. Oh, there is an edge, isn't there? You can feel it on the back of your neck. Watch this show too long and you'll have a lot of goosebumps down your back. "27 minutes into our visit, and I know a lot of people are afraid to look at this live because they don't have the patience. They go, what's he talking about? Oh my gosh. They'll come in the middle of me saying something. They'll come in as I finish up saying something or making a point. And the first thing they hear is the last thing I said. That's always a blast because they're out of here because it was like, oh, this way over my head. Pew. Like in the cartoon when they go, pew, and they disappear in a little cloud of smoke. Yeah. But you need not be afraid. Why should you be afraid? I'm the guy on the edge. On your behalf, so that you can clearly see, I have nothing up my sleeves. In fact, I have no sleeves. So nothing up my sleeve. So why are you so fearful of someone who regards the Easter Bunny to be as authentic as any Bible character that might be in your world, in your imagination? So if I call it your imagination, then you might think I'm implying that you have to use an awful lot of your imagination to believe it, don't you? You know why? Because it takes a lot of your imagination to believe it, because you have to imagine all that stuff that they tell you, and they make you memorize everything. But by golly, you imagine it, don't you? And you let it become real to you. And I'm getting extra sound effects because of pop-up shoe ads. How about that? Pop-up shoe ads? See, I shouldn't be getting pop-up shoe ads when I'm streaming on YouTube. It's your tube, your YouTube. And they do this to you too. What pops up when you're watching The Edge with the Cliff? Because I know that sometimes companies can target who or where their ads might happen to pop up. They can do that. And you know what they do? They can tell what kind of stuff you like because, well, they're tracking everything you do all the time. And whatever you order online, they know you order that stuff online. And they know what you like too, so they know that if they find something that you might like, they're going to throw it to you because if you like it and buy it from them, then they're going to get a piece of that action. And such is the kingdom of heaven or the church world. Multi-level marketing now. You know, you get involved with the church now, you're just as likely to get caught up in something like Amway, or maybe they got a more sinister name now because I knew that they wanted to do away with using the A word. They wanted to call it something else because, well, they start the pitch on me one time, and I said, "Oh, Amway," and they go, "How did you know?" As if I'd busted a bubble of a secret or something. I didn't know. I took a wild guess. So it was multi-level marketing. Okay. Beware of multi-level marketing. It's designed for you to think that you're going to get in on all this money, but really the pyramid's turned the other way and it funnels back up to them. You don't really get anything. You might get some products. I mean, it would work if you can get everybody in the whole congregation to do it, and then everybody could have a nice control of their environment and their people. Very interesting. The separation of church and state. How many churches are there out there that are attached to a business? How about a business that could save tax dollars by being attached to its own church, nonprofit? Can you do that? Do they do that? You know they do that. We talked about the fate. We talked about the fate on this show of what I call Faith Baptist Mosque, which I'm still thinking about writing a book about. Because we were there as a child when the bonds were being sold. We know what was being said to sell the bonds. We even heard the sour notes from the folks that didn't think the bonds were a great idea. Then we watched it all grow, become very successful. But then the rewards of the Lord. As great of a pastor can be, doesn't mean snuff. When pancreatic cancer comes along, it just takes him out. Hardly seems fair a guy like that be taken out like that. Well, it hardly seems fair that once he was taken out, then nobody else knew how to run the church, not rightly, because it went bankrupt and wound up, I guess, on an auction block. Now fixing to probably be the biggest mosque in all of Florida, Faith Baptist Mosque. It's the rewards of the Lord, the final outcome. Not what we wanted to do, not what they all wanted to accomplish, but what happened. The final results are in. The verdict has been read. You're on the edge of the cliff. Keep that in mind, because I might bring something up that you're too familiar with. I talk about the gossipers a lot because there's a lot of gossip out there. I love it when there's gossip about me because I know who I haven't seen or who I have seen or haven't seen in quite some time. And it seems awful funny for those people to have so much to say about me and what I do. I'm to the point where I hear some of the terrible things that they say, and I think, I'm glad they did that. Because I've got that reputation now, and I didn't have to earn it. I can be anything you think I am. All you've got to do is just start some gossip about it. That's all you got to do. And I'll receive all the power and all the glory for me. Amen. Amen. Told you I'd rattle your cage, didn't I? Remember the rabbit hole from hell? What a concept, huh? But that came from what I call a drive-by. People do drive-by hits. They'll pop into a chat room for a second and they'll say something and then they'll run out of there. They'll say something derogatory or, well, when I leave an archive on YouTube and somebody responds to it, when am I going to get to see it? Well, I keep my notifications on. I'll know if you saw it. But if you commented on it, who knows? I might just like what you commented, whether you think I should or not. I might even like it, whether you think so or not. Whether it's intended for me to like or not is not immaterial. Because I have my own intentions about everything, and that's the way I think, and that's how I function and operate. And I've been doing quite well, in spite of all the I call them simulated health problems. They were simulated out of their own wearing and tearing. But I think I got the schedule to have it all taken care of soon. And that's why I'm coming back little by little here now, because you haven't seen anything yet. What we want to build and accomplish here on the Treasure Coast, it's going to be something that I think a lot of people need, especially as we see and watch before our very eyes as the world of churchiology, the Pauline Christianity, the Abrahamic religions, as they all deflate and fizzle out and dry up, as we watch and behold, we'll be helpful. We'll be holding and watching with you. Now, I can't promise you that we're not going to be saying things like, I told you so, I knew it. But I'll keep that prerogative for me if I want it. Yeah. Arrogant, aren't I? Don't know if that's an accurate description or not, but if you want to use that, sure. Anything else you'd like to throw in on top of that? Because I'll play with you. I'll toy along with you. But the bottom line is, when you're all done dealing with me, you're still going to have to deal with you. You see, you don't have to worry about me. You have to worry about you. Because what you think of you has a major effect on what you think of me. You have to be able to look at yourself. And some people just can't get to that, but don't be afraid to look deep within yourself to find out who you are. Because if you seek within you, that's where all the answers are. The answers are there already. How is the Word of God written in your heart? What do you need a book for if it's written in your heart? How do you access it if it's written in your heart? The edge of consciousness during the meditation or as you're falling asleep at night. That split second before you go under, you start to go into this dream realm. And you know it's a dream realm, so you can do whatever you want. All right. Since you're within yourself and you're thinking, start thinking, what would you like to do with your life? How would you like to take your life from here on out? And know this, I am not to bring you to a moment of decision. You have no requirement of making any decision whatsoever because you are divine, sovereign, and free. You need not even worry. You ever lose something and you're trying to find it and you just can't find it? It's frustrating you. And all of a sudden you say, oh, heck, forget it. I'm going to forget all about it. That's it. Okay, so you go on to do something else. Did you know your brain keeps trying to remember where it went? As soon as your brain remembers where you put it, your brain's going to say, hey, psst. And all of a sudden it's going to come to you out of nowhere, and you weren't even thinking about it. You decided to let it go. It stressed you out too much. Forget it. Set it and forget it. What did you set? You set your mind into search mode. Sometimes we need to set our minds into search mode. Just walk away from it all and leave it all alone and see how the sediment looks after it all sinks to the bottom after being so stirred up. It's the same thing. You take some mud from a pond and some water, you shake it all up in a jar, and then you set the jar down, and you'll see the layers of sediment coming down, settling on the bottom. The heavy rocks and gravel, they're down there first, and then the smaller particles fall in amongst them. And then there's still some stuff way up in the top of the water that just never settles. Ooh. It's all within you. Just look for it. Learn how to find it. And when you find part of it, when you can make part of it work for you, remember what you did. That's the biggest thing. If you're always one that wants to write something down, oh, that's a great idea, let me write it down. If you don't write it down, you lost it. Try to get it back. It doesn't always come back. Sometimes it only comes to you once. Of all the great discoveries of our great American history, let's take Thomas Edison. You know, what if one night he couldn't get to sleep and get to that one point to where he'd have gotten that idea of how to make electricity work? Or Tesla, or Edison figured out how to steal the idea from Tesla. I don't. Let's not go there. See, that's more of that drama, more of that drama, more of that sediment that's all mixed up in the jar still. This is The Edge with the Clif. And although I realize that you've been watching the show that I recorded on June the 2nd, 2019, just 2 weeks past my 61st birthday. And The Edge with the Cliff is designed to show you your stealth light within, because when it all boils down, when all the sediment goes to the bottom and you can clearly see through the water again, and when it's all said and done, it's not about me. It's about you and your stealth light within. How do you reveal a light source to somebody that's hidden to them? That's why it's your stealth light within. It's stealth. It's within you where you can't see it, nobody else can see it. But it's still your stealth light within, and guess what? My goal is to help you seek the ability to just open it up and radiate with it. You'll be unstoppable. But now you know, because you have been on the edge with the Cliff. Join us next time. We'll do it again. I'm still thinking about 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoons, but you know, we originally did this show. It was a 2-hour show from 6 till 8 p.m. Do you want to do that? If I did a show 2 hours a week, 6 to 8 p.m. on Sundays, would you join me? Maybe after the surgery, yeah, and the move, yeah, there's going to be a move, all right, into our new studios. Once we get the new studio situation going, I'll do 2 hours a week with you if you want, and I can even have guests on the show. How about that? Yes, and even you, yes. In fact, I would insist on you being a part of it with me. Some of these, I know on Facebook, I think you can bring somebody else into your video with you when you're making a video on Facebook. I think we could do that too. We could do a little quick get-togethers on Facebook during the week. Then the big show in the evening, 6 to 8 p.m. Say on Sundays, maybe soon. But that would be then. In the meantime, this is still now. So until then, remember, it's not about me. It's about you and your stealth light within.